What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. We headed to 504. Our guy, Nick Underhill, Nick_Underhill from neworleans.football. Go sub to him on YouTube. Sub to the site as well. I've been a proud subscriber for multiple years now. If you love the Saints, just incredible coverage and insight. Nicky, what's up, dude? How we feeling this Tuesday?
Doing great, man. Doing great. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well, man. What a day. What a game on Sunday. Probably the most win-feeling loss of all time. In that there's legitimate big morale-boosting takeaways to be had. Like, you can appreciate the competitive spirit. You can get maybe a touch excited about a Spencer Rattler coming in and finding some good plays and leading such an inspired sort of final push. It speaks to Darren Rizzi and his ability to motivate a team that had every reason in the world to completely give up. It speaks to toughness, overcoming adversity, all these sorts of things. And yes, you fall short, but, draft and whatnot. So it's also not kind of the worst thing. So I came away pretty, happy, oddly enough. And it seems like in talking to most Saints fans, that's a common refrain. What was your reaction to Sunday?
I think it was exactly the same as yours. Like, you got all the upside, all the positive stuff, and you improved your draft pick. There's really no downside to it. They went from, I think, 11 to 10. I don't think anything that happened last night would have changed that. But yeah, I mean, look, I feel pretty good about Rattler, going through the film. Again, there's some stuff, kind of big play dependent a little bit, got bailed out on a couple sacks. Not perfect, but I think you saw traits. Like, that's all we're really looking for right now is traits. Like, if you flash traits and you lose, like, I don't care. I mean, there's just things that he does that are exciting, and we'll see on Monday night. I actually think the door's open, I think, for Derek Carr to be able to make his comeback this week or next week. We'll see how it looks. I think it probably still leans a little bit towards the backup, but it's going to be interesting to see how he views things. If he tries to push to get out there this week, I could definitely see it. I think the smart thing for him would probably be to not play against the Packers and then come back against the Raiders and close out against the Bucs. But if he doesn't want to leave the door open for someone else, or if he's feeling good by Monday night, like, I could definitely see him playing in that game. But I hope to see Rattler. I want to see Rattler out there. I think it's going to be a really, really tough atmosphere for him. I can't imagine a harder test. They'll probably get behind early, and you won't have the run game to help you like it did on that 2-minute drive down the stretch, and it's going to be cold, and you're going against a pretty good defense. Like, it's an excellent test, and I want to see him do it. And if he passes it, I would hope that somebody from the top would say, hey, look, like, keep playing him. Like, let's see how this keeps going. If you're the interim head coach, I think your best chance of probably winning games is with Derek Carr, and you probably do want him out there, and you probably do want to try to win every single game so that you're able to go in there and just kind of drop your record on the desk and say, hey, like, I did this, like, give me the job. But, the long-term interest of the team, if Rattler looks good on Monday night, I think you got to try to keep playing him. I don't suspect that we're going to feel as good as we do about him as we do today, next week when we're on here talking about it. But I do want to see it. I just want the education. I want to see him. I want to see Kendre. I want to see Foster Moreau get more targets. I think he can do a lot more. And I want to know if he can be a bigger piece of the offense going forward. And, I just want to keep seeing Rizzi make good decisions. You can hold it over his head that he started Hayner last week, whatever. I mean, look, if you've watched practice, and I know no one could. So, people are just going blind. They couldn't watch training camp. Like, Hayner looks really good in training camp. The problem is last year he looked really good in training camp. Gets into the preseason, it's terrible. 3 picks. I don't think any touchdowns. This year looks good in training camp. Gets into the preseason, looks okay at times, but then gets into these games and it looks like he, drank a Jolt Cola and chased it with a Red Bull, and he's all jittery and everything's happening too fast. And there's just like there's no stableness. Okay, well, what if he starts? What does it look like? You give him a chance, you find out it doesn't work. I give Rizzi all the credit in the world for having the courage to pull him at halftime and put Rattler in. That's A, saying I made a mistake.
Yep.
B, I'm going to go to a guy that wasn't totally prepared, but it probably gives us the best chance to win. But the downside here is incredible. And if this all blows up, I might be out right here. Like, I might make a bad situation worse and be out right here. And he just did what he had to do to try to win the game. And, I think that took some gumption and courage and, putting people ahead of you. And you don't really know what someone is until you test them. So you test Haener, Rizzi gets tested, Rattler gets tested. And I kind of liked what came out of all those tests except for the Haener equation.
Okay, so real quick housekeeping here. And I know the answer, but just real quick. So if Derek Carr doesn't play, it is Rattler, obviously, right?
Oh,
okay.
God, it has to be. Like, that's not even I'm not even going to bother asking anyone.
Okay.
Total disaster, yeah.
And then what about what's the status of Alvin Kamara?
He wants to play, and he's going to do everything he can to play, and I suspect he's going to, what is it? You got 8 days in between games. I suspect he's going to spend probably 70 hours on that massage table trying to figure out how to get out there and get back on the field. I believe that he's going to take his people with him to Green Bay. I mean, I think they're going to do everything they can. I think he's, I think everything points towards him wanting and doing everything he can to play. And I'm not going to count him out until 90 minutes before kickoff on Monday. If that thing's up in the air and it hasn't already been decided, but like, I think as long as the window's open, he's going to try to do everything he can. I think it's a legitimate injury though, and I think it's going to take some work to get out there on Monday night.
Yeah, and for those that haven't read it yet, one of the premier neworleans.football pieces of the year is Nick getting to really be embedded with AK and view his process. It is obsessive, extensive, and you see why he still looks so good at a time in which many of his peers start to fall off at that position. And you see why maybe he could potentially play after a legitimate injury like the one that he has had. What did you think about Kendre Miller? I know you're kind of the leader of the Kendre hive, Nick. A bad Washington rush defense, to be sure, but some big plays made, some flashes for your guy.
Yeah, I think he's a great player, man. The talent's obvious. The pass protection is brutal. Like that has to get way better. Every Sunday, I'm like, why aren't they playing him more? And then on Monday, when I go through and watch it, I'm like, like, yeah, all right, you didn't pick up a blitz there. You let that go. Like that has to get better. I think it will with more reps, experience, practicing. Being healthy. I think would help with that. But he runs really well. I mean, it's a shot of life. And I feel that way anytime there's like a good young running back on a team. It just feels different. They feel faster. They're fresher. It's a car kind of coming like fresh off the lot. There's just like no wear and tear on it. And he looks great. I think he's a really good running back. He's really good talent. I think if he can stay healthy these next 3 games and you kind of give yourself like a, 5-game runway going into the offseason, I think A, he feels good about that. And then B, I think you can kind of imagine him a little bit is part of the solution going forward. Whereas coming into this year, it's like, well, they have a good player, but you can't really count on them. Should they draft someone else? Should they sign someone else? All those things. But yeah, I think it's important for him and for the team just to kind of see that equation of it. But yeah, I think he looks great, man.
What about the so as far as I understand, and tell me if I'm wrong here, the clock stops with 9 seconds at the end of that game Sunday, and it doesn't become the story that it would have been had the Saints won. But did I read a pool report correctly that basically the refs were like, we should have stopped it, but we did. Yep. Like, so that's just the explanation.
Yeah, like, we messed up. Sorry about it.
Like I'm kind of laughing to myself. Did he just have like a college flashback? He's thinking like, oh, okay, first down, stop the clock. And they're like, oh, wait, no, actually.
I don't know how that even happens. Yeah, and then at the end of the first half, like they screwed that up too and let him kick the field goal like 5 seconds after the clock expired. And then that like turned into like a big thing. Rizzi's all pissed off. Like, I don't understand how this all played out. And like, that's another one of those things where, okay, if the clock runs out and they aren't able to clock it and they don't get another playoff, are we second guessing Rattler's decision to kind of throw the underneath pass there and not giving himself enough time to get another shot at the end zone? So like, there's a couple things here where, you kind of go through and you're like, I don't know. Look, the management there at the end of it too, like they I think the linebacker stayed on top of Foster for like a couple extra seconds.
I thought
Kinda
maybe
stopped
that's
him
why
from
it was
getting up.
stopped, right? Because can you stop it for something like that if you feel like the defense is intentionally delaying it?
Like, I don't know if it was egregious, but like, there were a couple things, like someone else has to run over. Like I used to have Sean Payton's rules for like the end of the game. Like I got a copy of the playbook and like they were printed out in there. Like, it's just like, you have to get up and run the ball back to the official. If a player isn't able to do it, someone else has to go get the ball and run it over to, like, that attention to the detail in those moments. And like, it was maybe not quite as, put together as it should have been in that moment. They got a gift though. I do wonder if the clock's running out, like, do they race to the line quicker and get that? I don't know if it could have happened faster. I watched it again. I don't think it could have.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of bail out there, and I do wonder if that changes our perception of everything.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, look, sometimes, look, you never apologize for good fortune. You just try to take advantage of it. And the Saints nearly took advantage of it.
And a rookie gets to learn something in that moment without actually suffering a consequence. So like that, it kind of goes with the theme of the overall, like the outcome is, a little bit, you look at it positively, like the downsides aren't quite there.
Nick, in terms of other elements of this team that if we want to project forward into the offseason, I'm still actually kind of amazed at what the staff is doing in terms of being so competitive with the roster that they are being forced to field. Is wide receiver actually priority number one in the offseason?
It's huge. That DN D tackle is one too, but wide receiver is a massive need. I would put it way up there. I think the door is open on a lot of things where they're picking right there. I think if you're kind of like prioritize, look, cornerbacks like looking more and more like a major need too. I don't know if you bring Debo back and that solves it, but it's not trending the way you want it to trend with this exposure here, kind of going down the stretch. Both those guys, I think, have been, spotty, and Alante's been more spotty than I would have expected him to. So there's a lot of high value needs right now going forward, and depending on the Carr situation, if like they were to decide to move on, quarterback could be right at the top of that list too. So there's a lot of stuff to kind of figure out. But like I do agree with your initial point. I think they are being incredibly competitive with a very bad roster, and I think you run your whole process in the coaching search. And if you're asking me my preference, like, yeah, I want to see something different. Like, but I do think that Rizzi, as far as, there's going to be 5-6 people that interview for it. I think as of today, like, I think he's making a really good candidacy. Like on Monday night, he could go out and get smoked by 28 points. And that's all, up in smoke very, very quickly. And the good vibes might be gone. But I think as far as what he's working with, like, he's doing a pretty good job so far. And I think that's worth acknowledging. That doesn't mean you just stick with them. You don't run your process. I think you need to learn from the mistakes the last time where it was like you decided before you ever interviewed anyone who you were probably hiring. But I think he's done a commendable job. And no matter where you fall on that, like, I think that should be like a universal agreed upon opinion right now. That he's done a very good job in this role so far to this point.
It's a very, very salient point there. They're like, yes, like maybe you don't agree that you want him to get the job, even though I think it is interesting as a bridge guy with so many flaws, but whatever. But like, yes, he's like, objectively, we can all agree he's done really solid in very tough circumstances.
Derek Carr is not playing Monday night, so it'll be Rattler.
Oh, it just came out?
I just got a text about it. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So it's breaking news?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, Nick. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go, dude. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.